Back in 1978, Honda took two of their best sellers in America, the Accord and the Civic, and stitched them together into something new. They borrowed the best parts of both cars, threw them onto a new platform, and built America's very first taste of a Honda sports car. They called it the Prelude, and almost nobody talks about it anymore. But every single thing you love about modern Honda performance traces back to this one forgotten car. The first generation Prelude wasn't impressive on paper. It launched with a 1.8-liter inline-4, making 76 horsepower. By American standards, that was nothing, because people were buying Camaros and Mustangs with V8s, so a Honda with 76 horsepower didn't even register as a sports car. But here's the thing. Honda wasn't trying to beat the muscle cars in a straight line. They were building something different. The Prelude wasn't fast, but it was sharp, light, responsive. Take it into a canyon road with a good driver, and it would embarrass cars with twice its power. That philosophy, balance over brute force, became the foundation of every great Honda sports car that followed. The first generation didn't sell well, simply because the styling was just awkward. Even the Celica was more attractive. Everyone was walking past it. But Honda didn't quit. A few years later, they came back with the second generation and changed everything. The styling was completely redesigned. Long hood, low stance, and of course the pop-up headlights. The engine grew to a 2-liter and was now making 110 horsepower. They added double wishbone suspension up front and disc brakes all around. Today, none of that sounds special. But back then, this was Tesla-level technology in a Japanese sports car. And then they did something else. They gave it a new badge. They called it the Prelude Si. The second generation Prelude was a massive hit in both Japan and America. Honda had finally proven that you could sell a Japanese sports car in the United States. The formula worked. Then came the third generation. And this is where things got serious. The proportions became sharper, and now the double wishbone suspension was on all four corners. The engine grew to 2.1 liters and made 135 horsepower. And then they did something nobody else was doing. They made the Prelude the first mass-produced car in the world with four-wheel steering. At low speed, the rear wheels turned opposite to the fronts for tighter maneuvering. At high speed, they turned the same direction for stability in corners. It was the kind of engineering you'd expect from a supercar, not a mid-range sports coupe. Honda's internal projection was that 30% of buyers would choose the Prelude over their other models. The actual result? Around 80%. The third generation Prelude was a runaway success. It was the car that proved Honda could build something that wasn't just good for the price, it was just good. Full stop. Then in 1993 came the fourth generation. And finally, after 4 generations of evolution, Honda gave the Prelude the one thing it had been missing: VTEC. The engine grew even more, dual overhead cams, and the magic VTEC system that became Honda's signature. Power jumped to 190 horsepower, a 55 horsepower increase in a single generation. Massive numbers for a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder in the 90s. The body became curvier, more aggressive, fixed headlights replacing the pop-ups, long hood, short trunk, wide stance. In my opinion, the best looking Prelude ever made. This was the Prelude at its absolute peak. A genuine sports car with real technology, real performance, and real presence on the road. And then came the fifth generation in 1996, the car that killed it all. Honda went back to boxy styling at the exact moment the market wanted curves. The headlights became big and square. The car got longer and heavier, and the power increase from the previous generation was only 10 horsepower, bringing it to exactly 200. Keep in mind the previous generation had jumped 55 horsepower. This one jumped 10. The price was the real killer. The fifth generation Prelude cost the equivalent of around $50,000 in today's money. For that money, most buyers walked into the Honda dealer and bought a Civic Si or an Accord instead. Sales collapsed. The Prelude that had once outperformed Honda's own expectations couldn't even hold its own against its cheaper siblings. Honda quietly pulled the plug in 2001. And here's the sad part of the story. By the time the internet became the heart of car culture, the Prelude had already been gone for years. Honda has been hinting at bringing the Prelude name back. If they actually do it, and they do it properly, it'll be the comeback the car community didn't realize it needed. Because the Prelude wasn't just another Honda, it was the Honda that paved the way for all the others.